Good?
You're on.
All right, roll it.
Action.
How you doing, Freydis? How you doing, Midnight? Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. As I've said, I'm doing a project. I'm out here living homeless, getting to know some of the homeless people out here in the city. And I'd love to hear your stories, so tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Thank you. It's great to be out here. You want to go first? You go. Tell your story first.
Well, I'm originally from Tampa, Florida. I lived there for 12 years. I was with my mom and my father. My father passed away when I was 5 or 6, I don't quite remember. So most of my life has been me and my mom. But there's 1 year I was in foster care due to my mom not being enough. I was 10 at one point.
You guys are living in a tent.
Mm-hmm. So I've had experience with homeless before this year. But the abuser, I will not state the name just because it's triggering this, but with my mom and I, we were mostly on our own after the foster care thing. We were living with him and his mother and brother, and that's after that, the true side showed as my little sister, my younger sister and older half sister, but my younger sister was living with me at the time. You know, my younger sister Vicky, we call her Vicky, real name's Victoria, treated nice and everything. But when it came to me and my mom, mentally and physically abused a lot, especially towards me, just for
This was your mother's partner?
partner, supposedly, but it was someone that we did not look like. One of my uncles introduced me to, well, my mom and I to this guy. Because at first he seemed, you know, like a good guy. Then as soon as I got out of foster care, he showed his complete side of a devil, pretty much. And it was just like, most of his stuff was towards me. He would get in arguments with my mom. But he would shoot me with BB gun, show me ISIS videos of getting heads chopped off, you name it.
He was sadistic and he was terrible to you, it seems.
Yeah, he said like, oh, you're gonna end up in jail. You're private. You're despicable. And when my mom sometimes would leave me in the room, or if I went to go to my mom, just I'd call her back, go get off the bed before I punch you in the stomach again. And one time he threatened to do something to my mom. I'm 12 thinking this already. I'm like, if he touches my mom, because at the time I didn't know about my other family I had. But if he was going to touch me, I thought about murdering him right then and there. I don't care what it meant.
So was it like they were saying there was sexual abuse in the family?
No, just mental and physical.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
That's right.
And so how'd you end up here in Boston, Midnight?
So, December 2nd, 2017, my aunt and uncle brought me up here from Florida. First couple of years were fine. Then that's when as soon as I hit 15 or 16, that's when things started going downhill. And I got more mental abuse to the point where I was self-harming. And I knew I was getting depression, but they saw it as a temper tantrum, all your pounding. So I feel like their brains were starting at 60s.
Okay.
I came out as trans when I was 17, and I went to my aunt's and said, what should I think? She's like, oh, it's not like this. She expected me to explain as an essay paper, and I'm sitting here thinking like, I know it's going to take years to figure that out. All I was asking at the time was a different name and different pronouns. And eventually, I found out not through them, but through a therapist who I didn't even know dealt with autism. Until one day they sat me down as December 2nd.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, so you're coming here for autism. And I'm like, wait, when did that come into the picture? So I tried bringing it up with my aunt. She's like, oh, we didn't want to tell you because you get pissed at us. I'm like, it would have been nice to hear that from you though, because that's kind of important.
So they diagnosed you with autism, and you realized you were transgender, and then, so how did you end up in Boston?
Actually, this year I became homeless late February because as soon as I turned 18, they sat me down in the morning at the table and was like, okay, so after all this shit I've done, I really was just trying to be myself. They said, you're a guest at our house now, and pretty much if I don't do their rules, they would kick me out themselves. So a couple weeks later, one argument with my aunt later, I'm like, you know what? Instead of you guys kicking me out, I'll do that for you. So I packed up my things, went to my friend's house for 6 months, and eventually I came out here.
You came out here, and so how did you two meet?
So almost a week ago in St. Francis.
It was a week ago.
Yeah. And we met at St. Francis. She asked me out, and started getting to know each other.
Okay. And it seems like you guys are really into each other.
Yes.
No mistake in that.
So, Freydis, tell me a little bit about your story and tell me about yourself.
Well, you see, for me, I knew I was transgender since 6 years old. My grandfather, before he passed, and my father's brother always saw a lot of femininity in me. And when I tried to say something, my father literally took teeth out of my head. Because he couldn't accept the fact that I was not what I was. So I hid for 32 long years. I came out on July 31st of 2023 as transgender. By then I would have already been in 2 marriages, one of which is currently in court at the moment for throwing bricks at me, destroying a vehicle that I had left over from my parents' inheritance that I bought as a home. And is now facing misdemeanor battery and felony aggravated battery charges back in Miami. It all started for me, essentially, my rounds with homelessness. I had started as homeless in 2014.
Okay.
Where
are you originally from? Florida?
Born in Florida, adopted at birth, raised in New York City. So most people would call me a New Yorker. Other people say I'm Floridian by birth.
Okay.
Quite frankly, I really don't give a shit because for me, well, I wear New York like a badge of pride.
Okay.
You know, it's where I grew up. It's what I know. You know, I was not far away when the towers fell. I remember running in to help and aid.
Yeah.
When they went down, I left from high school. And that was my last in-school round of high school before I went to homeschool. And I went in to go and assist personnel at Ground Zero. By that time, I have a small part of my left lung that will not function. The rest of the lung will. Struggled with a lot of weight issues, being picked on as a kid, primarily because of my feminine ways. My voice, to a lot of people, sounds very feminine naturally. Been on meds most of my life, growth hormone.
So are you in transition?
Actually, I am, but we have decided that before we officially begin our full edgings into transition, via hormones, surgery, and assignment surgery, that we were going to start a family beforehand.
Okay.
Now, are we both outdoors at the moment? Yes, but that will change in its own way, at its own time. Like I said, I started my homelessness because of a woman that I fell in love with from Nicaragua. Her name was Rosalinda Donahue.
Okay.
I met her when she was 45 and I was just in my late 20s. I was going to culinary school. I was working as armed security, tactical enforcement.
Okay.
As at that time, a sergeant with a company. When I left security in 2013, I was left as a lieutenant.
Okay.
And I was continuing my culinary advancement. At first I was at the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale before they closed. Then I transferred into Le Cordon Bleu, Miami, Miramar. At that time, I was still housed at 1000 South Ocean Boulevard, apartment 16G, Pompano Beach, Florida, 331. I can barely remember. That's how long ago that is. It's like 11 years ago at this point.
You got a good memory for numbers.
Just about. At that time, I had some cars. My jobs were paying me well. I had side gigs like police officers have their side gigs when they were off duty. So I knew I was doing well. 2014, I got into the drinking game due to rounds of depression. Because of my health, I wound up as a Crohn's disease patient. At birth, I was diagnosed with Crohn's, but it was in remission at birth, so it was not active. 2001, it went active, so there were times I'd be vomiting blood just out of nowhere on the streets.
And you were drinking alcohol?
I was drinking alcohol because of the depression from it. I had a really close connection to my grandfather. When he passed, I felt like I had nobody except my brother and him. And so I found that I was adopted at 23 years old, driving my dad to work in his 2009 Hyundai Santa Fe, which he had just gotten not even a week earlier. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to tell this to my newborn daughter, who I thought was my daughter? It was really somebody else's. So my first marriage wound up as...
So your wife slept with someone else?
behind my back. And it turned out to be someone that I knew, that she knew, that knew my brother, that me and my brother used to hang out with during our middle school, high school years. So I lost custody of my first daughter due to my daughter complaining that somebody touched her inappropriately. And as a father, I reacted on it, and I should have investigated on my own, because she did not wipe herself properly after using the bathroom, using the sandbox at school. And so they thought that it was me and my, at the time, spouse who was abusing this child, and it was not true. Charges were dropped, but the case still closed with us losing custody of our daughter.
I'm sorry to hear.
That's all right. And so from there, I wound up with Rosalinda in 2014. In 2014, I became homeless in the streets of Pompano Beach. I learned my way around, how to survive.
How was it being homeless out in Florida?
The weather's a lot nicer during this time of year, I'll tell you that. But the hurricanes don't matter. They're just as bad as the next tropical storms, so on and so on. But it's a bit tougher there than it is here. There's a lot less in the way of resources and shelter space and housing programs, food banks, distributes, stuff
How are
like
the
that.
people on the streets? I heard it's dangerous out there.
Actually, just as of recent, Ron DeSantis signed into law that you no longer need a permit to go ahead and purchase a firearm. And now anybody, as long as you have a concealed level 3 retention holster, you can actually go ahead and buy a handgun and walk around without a permit or a waiting period.
Well, I think maybe me and my camera guy won't be going down to Florida.
Not anytime soon. I wouldn't trust it. But they are also now, thanks to Ron DeSantis, become an anti-LGBTQIA state.
Oh.
So there are certain safe haven cities, but the whole state itself, in it as a whole, is very antagonistic to the livelihoods of those that are LGBTQIA, whether they be gay, bi, lesbian, non-binary, anything that you don't have a definitive male or female to, you're not really so welcome there. They don't say it much, but that's exactly what the proof is when you are in Florida.
It's felt. So why did you leave Florida?
Well, I originally fled because of my marriage to my current spouse. It became dangerous for me. I married her in 2019 after having been with her for a year, and we got married in Orlando. So we've traveled around, me and my spouse. We wound up in Hawaii, New York, Tucson, Joplin, Missouri, El Paso, Texas. Just pretty much traveling.
Were you homeless to others?
We were.
What was your favorite homeless haven?
Oh my God, the beauty of Tucson is incredible. The beauty of Hawaii is absolute, but I felt the most safest was in New York City.
New York City,
Only because it's where I grew up, and my father used to take me to Broadway shows three weekends of every month. So I grew up on all these big musicals like The Lion King, and the Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis, Cabaret, when Studio 54 used to be open, Annie Get Your Gun, Grease, The Color Purple, Aida. I've seen revivals of Hair, South Pacific, I've seen Titanic, Moving Out, all of these different, like, great, amazing performances. Jekyll and Hyde, when David Hasselhoff opened it, The Boy from Oz with Hugh Jackman, Wicked.
So you love the theater. You love the theater.
I was there every chance that my father got to take us, even for our birthdays, me and my twin. He would take us to Broadway shows, and then we'd go out to either Port Jefferson, a place called the Steam Room.
So you have a twin. You have a twin?
Yep, we're fraternal twins. His name is Benjamin. He too is gay, but is married with a wife and child who's very accepting of this.
So like, he's gay, but he's married, and his wife is accepts this.
Yeah.
But he has other relationships with men as well.
He has an affinity for this one gentleman, but he hasn't seen him in a while. So, he's very faithful in his marriage. I'm proud of him that he has a daughter. Both who I thought were my children had been removed from my custody. There are people in this world that say they're loving and kind-hearted and well-natured, but in the end, they're treacherous. And these are people that you'll never know who they are till they show their colors. Anybody can say one thing about somebody, and another person winds up hurt or injured for it. Nowadays, with all this Photoshop, anybody can say you're a predator, you're a sex offender, just by copying and pasting a photo to a police warrant. It doesn't take very much with technology nowadays to do more harm than good. So I said to myself, if I'm going to wind up dating again or believing in the meaning of the word love, I need to look within my own community. And a friend of mine said that's probably the best thing you can do, because you'll have more in common with somebody in your own community that goes through the same thing you do, has similar experiences as you do. And thank God, I found Midnight because of that. This friend was also very supportive when I took a job at Jacques Cabaret. One Tuesday as karaoke night, I wound up making my debut and nailed it. So at the moment, I have a stage name. And
What's your stage name?
Foxy for China.
Okay.
A cute play on words, but he likes it. That's all that matters is, that we care for one another. Although there's a 20-year difference between me and Midnight.
Okay.
Age is just a number. When you deal with labors and matters of the heart, it's not only just a connection of what you have with somebody, but the history between both comes alive as one history. And that is very true because, meeting outside of St. Francis and just heading up to Park Street Church just for dinner. Wound up doing each other's makeup before then.
Okay.
Because as you know, we're both still in our natural biological forms as male and female, but identify as, I identify as she, her, hers, and he identifies as him, his, they, them.
Okay.
So it's interesting because life is not how it's perceived, it's what you perceive it to be.
So you two are going to have children.
As our natural forms.
As your natural forms. And then when you both have the operations, and the roles are going to be reversed.
No, they're going to be the same.
They're going to be the same?
You see, Midnight is my husband and my wife. That's how I see it. As I am his husband and his wife. Because all that's getting changed is Mr. to Mrs. Or sir to ma'am, and ma'am to sir, and vice versa to the exchange. So in reality, there is no difference who we are and what we identify as. It's just how you perceive it. See, the world, it may be cruel, cold, and miserable, and calculated, but at the end of the day, it's how do you choose to live life? You see, if you could identify yourself as anything, how would you do it? Why would you do it? Would you do it for love, to find love? Would you do it because of the benefits that come with the territory or whatever? That's not how I'm living for things. I'm living things day to day because I'm a type 2 diabetic and a Crohn's patient that suffers from PTSD and other traumas. Midnight suffers just about in the same, PTSD and other traumas. So the connection that we have, even while being homeless being the biggest one, but that's the least of them. It's the fact that we are who we are, and we can appreciate each other for who we are and what we are. See, Gloria Gaynor said it best when she said, I am what I am, and what I am means no excuses. I deal my own deck, sometimes the aces, sometimes the deuces. You have one life, so there's no return and no deposit. So why not try to see things from a different angle? And I have many friends who are gay that I've laid with and who I have not laid with, and it's all experience in life. This is just another step that the two of us feel will bring peace in our lives and justice, and so this is as it is.
What message do you have for like the public and maybe other transgender people that might be down on their luck or might end up homeless or something? Like, what message do you have to share with people?
You want to say your message first?
Yeah, just be, main thing is just be yourself. Like, I know it's hard. I've had, people come up to me just because I shake my head and I'm a little bit stressed because I believe clothes could be, if you don't have those female ties, it could be, I could still be transitioned as a male wearing female clothes because I choose to. But, you can follow the right path of yours and don't let people hurt you just because they can't understand something or choose to, something because they're afraid.
Thank you, Midnight.
And my message is, I got my ordination in 2021. And I can say this not only from a standpoint as a minister, but as someone that has been through these experiences, is if you let someone dictate who you are, you're not alive. If you're not going to explore life the way it's meant to be explored, and take chances, not unnecessarily, but to take chances to find out about who you are, what you are, what your role is in life. Whether you're homeless or not, you should be proud of who you are and take notice that anybody can tell you anything. If you believe that your mind and your will, your heart is stronger than a person's tongue, then as it says in the Bible, the tongue is the deadliest weapon we have, and that no weapon formed against you will prevail. Well, I'm here to tell you that I've never let a weapon despair me from anything. I have been put down to the point where I have been falsely arrested and locked up. I have been beaten and battered. I have been run over with a car. I have been through so much more in life than people realize. And quite honestly, don't be afraid of where you step. Don't be afraid to look behind you or watch somebody's hands, because life is what you are and what you make of it. So don't put yourself down and don't feel like there's never a way out. There is. The question is, are you willing to take the chance to find a way out?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Freydis. Now, people are going to see this. A lot of people. Is there any way you want people to reach you or contact you? They might reach out to me. I can contact you. I'll give you my card.
Of course. You can find me on Facebook at Freydis Lothbrok, FREYDIS LOTHBROK. It'll say lives in Miami. You'll see me as a profile pic with black and blonde hair, a leopard print bandana, black outfit.
Okay.
And as for you?
So the email I can give people is TikiTobyLover at masky@gmail.com.
Tiki Toby Lover.
Tiki Masky Lover.
Tiki Toby. Write it down and I'll add it onto the video so people can see. I just thank you both so much.
If, like I said, before we started the interview, you are more than welcome to follow us in some of our adventures throughout the days, if you wish.
Okay, thank you.
Just to see what we do, how we hang out, how we interact, and it's just it'll just be another step into the lives of.
Is there a lot of, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there a lot of like transgender homeless?
You'd be amazed how a lot of them are afraid to say who they are because they feel they won't be accepted. Well, I'll tell you what, if you are out there, come and find us. Let us be a way to open your heart to being free, because we don't turn anybody away from being our friend or, hey, part of our lives, and just in general. We're open, we're extremely well-mannered and big-hearted. We're here for advice, we're here for friendship, and we're here not only just because we're looking for somewhere to settle down, to call home, start a family, but we're here for anybody, advice or not, problem or not, we're here to listen. So,
Thank you so much. Is it alright if I give you guys a hug? I really like
No,
it.
by all
You
means.
guys are just such beautiful
Please.
people. Thank you so much.
thank you, love.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best. Hopefully we can go out and travel around.
Yeah.